Welcome back. You're listening to the Flow Friday Sports Show here on Flow FM. And joining me on the line now is Carla Fletcher. It's time to talk all things Hume netball. And our resident expert joins us once again with just 2 rounds left of the competition to play. Carla, it's all coming down to the very thick of it now. How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, look, there were some very interesting games on the weekend. It's nice to get towards the end of the season, and there's always a little bit of lull there, and now it's kind of, perked up a little bit and getting ready to head into the final series.
Well, I'll tell you what, there were some close games again. This league just doesn't fail to deliver when it comes to exciting netball, Carla. And, just looking at some of these results again, you just think, is there going to be one quiet week? But there never seems to be. Let's talk about the marquee fixture first, which saw Osborne hosting Jindera. And Jindera really had to win this one to have any chance of finishing first, Carla, after the regular season. But they weren't good enough, losing by 15 goals. Osborne too good.
Yeah, look, Osborne welcomed back Louise Madden, and they had a great win over second place Jindera. Although it was pretty tight for the first half of the game, but then after half time, Osborne just took off and they never looked back. Grace Kennedy, she stepped up from B grade in the absence of one of their other injured players, Cypress Clay. And she played a brilliant game on Jindera's shooter, Shana Holland. Sally Hunter took out one of the awards this week, their coach. She was voted Players Player, and the coach's award went to Abby O'Connell, who had a pretty steady game in the midcourt. Chelsea Burns and Chelsea Harper took out the awards for Jindera. But I think Jindera just kind of settling into a couple of new combinations, and I'm sure they'll sort themselves out, and, they just were beaten by a better team on the day.
All right, well, some other close games, as I mentioned, they don't get much closer than a goal splitting the two, and that was Culcairn 36 to Lockhart 37. Another shock result this, Carla, with Lockhart really accumulating some late season form. What did you make of this one?
Yeah, look, it was a game that was battled out till the very final whistle. Both teams, they both played consistently for the 4 quarters. Lockhart was probably maybe a little bit more composed in the last quarter, which got them across the goal by 1-1. Maddie Robinson and Chelsea Hosey kept their composure, and they just shot some beautiful goals under pressure. Unfortunately, Culcairn lost one of their key defenders in the middle of the game in Stephanie Cook, so I hope she's okay and ready to take the field back for Culcairn coming up into finals. But their best players, once again, Olivia Brunner, she just shot beautifully. Claudia Grogan worked really hard in the centre, and Taylor Durden, who stepped into the defensive position. So it was a great game. A little bit of a surprise, but it's always a tough battle against both those clubs.
Well, the fans and observers were probably thinking at that point, gee, we've got our sort of, week's worth of close netball action where we're all on the edge of our seats, but that was not the case because we also had Howlong going down at home to the Billabong Crows 40-42, and again, I doubt many people expected this result, Carla.
No, I don't think so. But the Crows girls came out really strong. They had a loss last week against Holbrook, and they put on a great 4-quarter performance and getting themselves a really important win over Howlong. But they were also down 2 key players in Jess Lane and Abby Liskey. Jess Feely for the Crows playing in goal attack. She had a best on court performance, working hard inside and outside of the goal ring, and closely followed by Lily Hanrahan with some excellent shooting at goal shooter. And Howlong's awards went to Kirby McDonald in centre, and a young player who stepped up from B grade, Sarah Conway, had a good game in wing defence.
There we have it. Well, the only game that wasn't close in the end during the previous round 16, was that of the Giants, who hosted Henty, and they won by 21 goals, Carla. That was the only game where there was a considerable amount of breathing space in the results. So What did you make of that one, Henty? They look like they might sort of, be able to provide a couple of shocks maybe, or at least be really competitive. They weren't out of this game, but in the end beaten fairly soundly by the Giants.
Yeah, but I think the first quarter was really strong from both teams. The Giants, I think they just built on their lead at each break. And look, Henty fought back and they drew the last quarter with the Giants. The Giants goal shooters, Samara Trethown, Mel McClellan and Lucy Byer, they all had a really accurate day under the post, with Viv Venisi winning lots of balls. She was back playing in wing defence and goal defence for the Giants. Henty's Holly Kinney, she went from one end down to the other and helped out Rachel in the defensive end, and she had a great game in goal defence. And also young Erin Hogan had a great game in the centre as well. So, yeah, I mean, Henty will be pretty pleased with how they finished off their season, I think.
Holbrook, 5 goals too good for the Brocklesby Barnbardic Saints. What did you make of Holbrook's work here, Carla?
Look, this was another close match, and it was a really much-needed win for Holbrook in the lead-up to finals. They're starting to explore some of their options, and they're trying out some new combinations. And in the last quarter, I think some of those combinations are just starting to click, and it gave them a 5-goal win. Jodie Ross-Smith and Brittany Deegan had a great game for Holbrook, and Jemima Dunstan also in defence for the BB Saints worked hard all day.
Murray Magpies getting a really handy win away to CDHBU 47-41. Carla, give us the breakdown from this game.
Look, I think it was a great game of shooting from both teams, and there wasn't much in it all game, but I think Murray Magpies probably just a little bit more composed in the last quarter. Look, and maybe a couple of injuries CDHBU's way didn't help them towards the last part of the game. CDHBU awards went to their goal shooter Rosie Dye, Chloe Gilchrist and Shelby Richardson, and best on for the Magpies were Laura Kieran Nicholson and goal attack Tara Lischke.
All right, well, let's take a look at round 17, the action getting underway tomorrow. And Carla, it just feels like every week I get less and less confident about trying to tip in this league. But Giants, they host Osborne to get things going. You wouldn't assume that the pace setters who are on top of the ladder are going to have any trouble here.
No, I think Osborne, they just move the ball so quickly. Any turnovers and the kind of ball's just gone before you realise what's actually happened. But in saying that, Ramble Bundry Waller Giants, they're playing some nice netball. So I think they're going to stick with Osborne for the first half, and I think Osborne will just take away with it after that.
All right, well, Carl, the only thing I can think of as to why other teams could probably be a little more confident than they've been throughout the majority of Hume netball in 2023 when they come up against Osborne is the fact that mathematically now Osborne have secured first place. Could they be in a position where they rest a few players now and maybe experiment a little bit?
No, I don't think so. I think they've had a couple of injuries, so they'll be wanting to give some of those players, some more court time and, just work out some key moves and keep that up and going. So, no, I don't think they're going to rest anyone. They'll be playing full steam ahead.
Culcairn hosts Jindera, and sensationally, you would never have thought that both these sides would be going into this game wanting to bounce back. But that is the case, Carla. So, Jindera, you'd think they'll still be good enough after the shock of, the various shocks they've copped throughout the season. I guess it's no shock losing to Osborne because they're first, but they did lose again last weekend. You wouldn't have thought Culcairn would have, so this could be a game that ends up being a lot closer than a lot of people might have thought, a week or so ago.
Yeah, look, I think Jindera might have it. It'll just depend on how, some of those injuries from the last couple of weeks have affected Culcairn and whether those girls are going to be back on Saturday or whether they're resting them up as much as they can so that they're really fit and ready for finals. But I think Jindera should account for Culcairn on the weekend.
Crows Magpies, 2 teams coming into this game in form. Who's going to get the better of the other on the day, Carla, in Urana?
I think the Crows, they've come off a really terrific win last week, and I think they'll continue on Saturday. And, I think they'll have a comfortable win against the Magpies.
All right, is there much hope for Henty? They host Holbrook.
No, this will be a tough game. Both teams are pretty competitive. But Holbrook are on a real roll at the moment, so I think they'll go out and they'll leave nothing unturned on the weekend, and they'll take home the 4 points.
How long will be sizing up the opportunity to get back into the winners' circle? They travel to CDHBU. Might not be the easiest game for them to prevail in, though, Carla.
No, and CDHBU, they've put up a really good fight during their games. It'll be a pretty consistent game. It'll just depend on whether those two key players are back for how long this weekend, and if they are tipping how long.
Yeah, the how long fans will be saying, how long do we have to wait for these, clearly influential players to return to the lineup? Well, hopefully for their case, they will. Let's talk about Lockhart against the Brocklesby Burdick Saints. I would have thought some time ago that the Saints would get this one, Carla, but I'm inclined to go the other way now.
Yeah, look, this is going to be a great game. BB Saints, they're very competitive and they've got a nice tall lineup. Lockhart played beautifully on the weekend, and they're celebrating Carly Pearce's 300th game. So Lockhart will be hoping for a win. I've left this one blank. I really don't know who to tip this weekend because it could go either way.
Oh, Carla, you can't be a fence sitter like that.
I'll go Lockhart. Seems they'll be
they're the home side
for a big win. Yeah, they're the home side, but I've tipped all the away side for the others. But I think they'll be going out there to help Carly celebrate her 300th game on the weekend.
Well, we'll see if you're right or not next week, Carla. Great to speak with you. A pleasure as always, Carla Fletcher, our expert on all things Hume netball. Enjoy the netball action over the weekend, Carla. We'll speak to you next week.
Thanks, Ella. Catch you next week.